The information provided on this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. Reliance on any information provided here is solely at your own risk. Welcome to the Birth Baby Podcast. Each week, you'll find guidance, encouragement, and practical tools to support you through pregnancy, birth, and the postpartum journey. I'm your host, Ciarra Morgan, a certified birth and postpartum doula, hypnobirthing educator, and pediatric sleep consultant. I'm also the owner of a doula agency in Austin, Texas, and the founder of the Birth Baby Academy, where I offer classes for both parents and birth professionals. Thanks for being here. Hello, everyone. I am here today with Laura Sandoval Sweeney. She is back with me. If you missed your other episode about high-functioning moms and postpartum anxiety, go back and listen to it. But Laura is a mental health therapist, and she also has a therapy practice here in Austin, Texas. So we are going to chat today about something a little bit different, but still about postpartum. We're going to chat about, is it 6 weeks? Is 6 weeks really postpartum, or why can it last for years and seemingly for some people? So I'm so thankful for you being back with me today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ciarra.
Yeah, I do find that, of course, culturally in the United States, at least, it's like, hey, 6 weeks, that was enough. Get back to work. And some people don't even have 6 weeks, right? Some of us don't even have paid leave. I didn't. And when you're a business owner, you don't. So why is it that really, is the 6 week postpartum checkup really great? They treat it like the finish line at a provider's office? Or why do you think that our culture places so much emphasis on this random 6 week milestone?
I know I really hate the 6 week milestone, and the times that I have heard from clients, about their 6 week appointment. No shade to any provider out there. I think we are doing the best we can with what we have, but our system needs to change. There's so many complaints. And just to be clear on what is actually postpartum, right? I think in the perinatal mental health space, we talk about 2 to 3 years, right, after giving birth. However, we're always postpartum, right? I say, I'm 3+ years postpartum, right?
You might be 7.5 years postpartum.
Exactly. There you go. Always postpartum, because this is the maternal identity continues to evolve. And there's actually research that shows that our brain continues to change up to 6 years. Isn't that wild?
Wow. I never heard that. I always heard you're postpartum until you stop breastfeeding. But I'm like, some people never breastfeed. So how does that even work?
Exactly.
That can't be the milestone.
Exactly. So, but back to the original question. I was I needed to
No, you're good. That's perfect.
No. And so I think there's many reasons, right? I think the medical system tends to be baby focused, not mom focused. That's one. 6 weeks can just be a box check and not feel like real closure. So that is what I hear often from my clients, feeling like a box was checked. Some of them do get those perinatal mental health assessments, right? But not all of them. And it tends to be very depression focused and not very holistic, where yes, postpartum depression, I think, is what unfortunately, a lot of people struggle with that, but it is not it's not a holistic assessment by any means. So a lot gets missed. Capitalism.
I was just at my capitalism. I was just saying, I was just at my son, a doctor appointment for my son a few weeks ago. Same doctor I've had since I had him. For him. And there was the charts, I could see that they do give the women the test or whatever for depression and anxiety. And I remember them doing that for me at my pediatrician appointments for him too. So sometimes it's done there too, but that's not the only things that we need to be focusing on. But anyways, okay. So capitalism, there you go. That's one of the reasons.
Capitalism, don't even get me started. I think it's pervasive in our culture, right? And capitalism impacts this as well, right? Capitalism wants us to bounce back. I hate that phrase, but I'm using air quotes if you can't see me here. They want moms to bounce back quickly. Physically, emotionally, professionally. It is not convenient to go past that 6 week mark, right? For anybody in a capitalistic culture. And I think it just really minimizes, right, the reality of postpartum recovery and all that it entails. I do believe it's systemic at the end of the day. Postpartum is not just an individual problem. And until we begin to treat it as a systemic issue where there's gaps in medical care, in policies, and in cultural expectations, things aren't going to change.
The cultural expectations thing is so huge. Like, I feel like none of us are even given the space to become a mother or a father, because we're so focused on what we're having to get to. Like, we're trying to hurry up and heal, or trying to hurry up and get through this first phase so we can get back to what we did before. But really, I wish we could just give space to this period of time that we're in, because we never get it back.
Right.
What are some examples in your practice? And you can use, of course, anonymous, I know HIPAA, all the things, but like, do you have some examples of how postpartum can show up years, maybe even later, and people are still being affected by being postpartum?
Yeah, I do have a couple of, I thought about this question right before we talked. And so I was like, yeah, I think there's so many things that impact this. Like, emotional healing doesn't follow a medical calendar, unfortunately. Hormones, sleep deprivation, the identity shifts can last months or even years for some people. I think birth stories sometimes aren't processed until much later, when the initial fog lifts. I talk to mamas, right, sometimes that are 2 years postpartum or 3 years and ready to maybe have a second, or not ready because of something they experienced, because of that birth story that they're now they're recognizing, hey, something happened to me and that wasn't cool. I wasn't cool with it. That wasn't okay. Right. And needing to like go through that. So I think like traumatic birth is one. Moms who are like avoiding the nursery, or like taking that next step potentially of having a second right after a traumatic birth. A mom who maybe grieved their breastfeeding journey for years, because that story wasn't validated. A mom who looked fine on the outside but had panic attacks, driving by the hospital. A mom who struggles to care for herself still because she's trying to control every little aspect of everything in her life. So, and of course, then we know that this is isn't moms. I'm using that language, but parents, right? Because this affects dads, this affects, what is it? Non-binary individuals as well. So
Any parent, anybody who's really close with the baby can be affected by these things. It doesn't even have to be a biological parent. It could be a grandparent. It could be a foster parent, adopted parent. I find that a lot of times, if people do have a hard birth, even if like I'm their doula, right, and they've had a hard birth, sometimes they don't want to talk about it. And then I hear them retell their story, or I find out they've retold their story to somebody else who comes back to me and then asks me, because a lot of people refer me, right? Like I might have a couple of generations of friends. And they're like, well, in so-and-so's birth, she said that blah, 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 blah. And like, what if that happens to me? And how does this work? And that's actually not what happened in her birth. Yeah. But that's her memory of what happened in her birth. And some people push off that postpartum visit with their doula because they're not ready to talk about it, which we're never going to make you talk about it. But there is so much benefit in actually facing it earlier, rather than just waiting and like compartmentalizing and letting it sit back there, because the brain is really interesting, like what it will do to protect us. And I find that a lot of people's story changes based on like what makes them feel more validated if this part was true. And honestly, their story wouldn't be so bad and not that it wouldn't have value or like could upset them, but it might have helped a little bit make it not so upsetting if they had really just asked some questions afterward and like opened up that conversation. So we talked a little bit about mental and a little bit about physical with sleep deprivation. Are there any other physical things that you see from moms that are lingering well beyond that 6 weeks?
So much. I think breaking it up right into the emotional, anxiety can go on. I hear from a lot of people, well, like maybe this will just go away. I thought this was just going to go away. And that's the thing. It gets to your point of like early intervention, maybe talking about it early. And the brain is wild. It's trying to protect us. We are all doing the best we can with what we have in that moment. I fully believe that. So it's not our fault, right? There's a lot of guilt sometimes of, oh, I'm sorry, I'm reaching out now. It's like, no, I'm glad you're reaching out, right?
Better late than never.
Exactly. But the lingering is real, and things don't just go away. So emotional, we're looking at anxiety, depression, rage. Sometimes what I think we talked about in our last episode, right, can be a big symptom of postpartum anxiety or depression. Guilt, shame. When we look at the physical aspects, that could be pelvic floor pain, right? Maybe pain with sex, C-section scars, hormonal shifts, the relational aspect, marital strain, right? The if you do have a partner, right, working with that partner, challenges with intimacy.
I was going to say that, like people that just do not want to have sex still, and they're feeling like they should want to, or they feel bad because they're like, my relationship is going to fail if we can't be intimate at all. Like that is such a big piece of it that I think so many people are quiet about because they're embarrassed.
Right. Yeah. It's not talked about enough.
Yeah.
It's social isolation. I think finding I hear a lot about friendship and friendships changing, mom friends, friendship is just such a theme with, I think, in adulthood, right? I'm finding friends.
Yes, it's hard.
It's hard. And then
when you change pieces, like when you change to a different type, like I was the first one of all of my friends to have kids, and only one of my friends really stuck around. Like she traveled to where I was and visited me. But like all of my other friends that didn't have kids, I didn't talk to them for years. Like they didn't know how to show up for me.
Yeah. I hear that a lot. And yeah, it's sad, right? And there's grief that can come with that. There's acceptance, there's anger, right? There's so many emotions, but friendship and just connection, right? Maybe even feeling, if we're really, really struggling, right, with a perinatal mood disorder, for example, and feeling very isolated in that. So I often connect my clients to groups, right? Or finding community of other parents that are going through a similar thing, right? And then of course the motherhood identity, right? We talked about that 6 year of how long up to 6 years that it can take for the brain to adjust. But there's this whole, it's this metamorphosis, it's that matrescence, right? Like, who am I outside of motherhood, the motherhood identity? We not only birth the baby, right? We birthed a parent, right? And so
I love that. Yes.
All that comes with that.
Yeah. The birth of a parent. I tell people a lot of times in class 5 of my hypnobirthing classes, that's the one where I talk about some postpartum. And I'm like, for those that have never had kids before, like you've never been a new, let's say, mother. Let's just say it's a mom and a dad. You've never been a new mom, and you've never been partner to a new dad. Dad, you've never been a new dad, and you've never been partner to a new mom. Like there are so many changing dynamics here, and we've got to give each other and ourselves grace through it, because if we're not like a team here, we're really going to be in more trouble than the struggles that already exist. Let's talk about that in terms of partners or family or friends or something. What would be some signs to an outsider, not the person who gave birth, or maybe even to an outsider for the non-birthing person? What are some signs that maybe somebody is still struggling, like past that 6 weeks? How can you tell, what would some signs be that maybe that you need to kind of step in and help in some way?
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's so personality specific, first of all, right? Because everybody shows up differently. A lot of times people look like they have it together. A lot of the moms I work with, right? Those high functioning, over functioning, anxious overachievers, right? They look like they're fine on the outside, but inside there might be a lot of turmoil, right? So it could be over preparing or over controlling. Maybe it's listening to comments they're making, like, oh, I never have time for myself, right? They keep canceling on you. Maybe you're the friend that, you keep inviting them. And I think that's great. Like, please reach out to your parent friends, right? They still want to be included.
Oh my gosh, please keep inviting. Yes.
Keep inviting, even if they can't come. But right, are you noticing something? We all have that great, I think, intuition, right? So listen to that intuition. We don't have to be mental health professionals to know exactly what a symptom is, right? But we're all human and care, and we can feel it in our intuition and our gut. Hey, something's off, right? And asking how are you really, right? You can
and
tell
do they
me,
seem
right?
different? Are they just different than they were? The person that they were before?
Yeah. And asking a question isn't going to, you're not harming them further by doing that. I think we may have talked about this last time, right? But just asking in a super caring way. But irritability, right? Going back to those signs, right? Rage, that seems more than sadness, right? Avoidance of socializing, right? Are they continuously not maybe ghosting you, but not responding,
canceling or not coming,
or not responding to your text. And I get, there is a level, I think, of normalcy. My text messages, my little red bubble of unread messages is embarrassing. It's really high. It's shifted since I became a parent, and that's okay. But like,
Yeah.
how am I just like never responding to you? That's something else, right? Even if I check in a second time. And that hearing that guilt of like, that they're maybe not enjoying every moment, that they like can't leave their child because, they have to be with them every single minute. And sure, maybe as like a fresh little newborn that's like a week old or a month old. But after that, like still like seeing that guilt is there. Maybe they're closer to a year and they feel like they can't leave when they have support around, maybe a partner or childcare, right, to help out.
Yeah, that's really good. I'm going to ask one that I don't know the answer to, but I think that this is one, and it's not like you can really comment on this if you're the person recognizing it, but it could be a sign that you need to check in. A lot of weight loss or a lot of weight gain.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because some people are eaters when they're stressed, and some people have a hard time eating when they're stressed. Like one of the signs that I'm not doing great is I'm really thin, like because I'm nauseous and it's hard for me to I'm like just drinking protein shakes to try to get it down, So yeah, you're not going to go up and be like, hey, you look too skinny, or you look like you're putting on some weight. But it's that's a sign that I should check in on that person because I know that about them. Like, if you've been friends with them for 10 years and you've seen when they're really happy, they look great. And then when they're not, they have opposite, effect.
Right.
That could be a sign as well.
Yeah. And like I said, right, it's so person specific. And like we could go through like every perinatal mood disorder and how like
of course
the symptoms are individual. But I think, knowing again, I think like following our gut and having a caring conversation, pointing out behavior. Hey, I've noticed this. I know becoming a parent is such a big thing. I know it was hard for me, or maybe I don't know what it's like if you're not a parent. And I like, how are you really? Like, I'm worried, like, how can I support you? Do you need to get connected to a mental health professional or to like some other resources, right? Whatever that might be.
And is that kind of goes into one of my questions, which is like, how can partners or friends or family better support moms that are experiencing those postpartum struggles long-term, whether they realize it or not?
Yeah, I think ask curious questions, right? Like open-ended questions are really good. Like, how has it been for you? Tell me really. Like,
open-ended, yes.
It. Open-ended is so important, right? Like the yes or no doesn't really give us much, right? Validating the experience instead of minimizing it. I think hearing like, oh, well, it's short-lived, or like,
this won't last forever.
Be grateful, right? Like that doesn't help. I think like it really sucks to only sleep 1 hour and to like, if that's been happening to you 3 days out of the week, this week, oh my gosh, like I can only imagine. Wow. Like, can I hold, the baby so you can go take a nap, right?
Offering to give a service, like care for the baby or do something for them that takes something off of their plate is so important.
So important. I would say, right, like not rushing the healing process, like allowing things to unfold at their pace. Everybody digests information quicker. Some people, like you asking that caring question, that first caring question, you might be like the only person who's noticed. You may have planted a seed of like, hey, like, do you need support? I'm worried about you. They might be like, wait, what? Am I not okay? And like, it might take a while to process that, to digest, like, they're not okay. Maybe they do need to reach out for support. And then another week, and another week, right? A month before maybe they reach out for help, right? So letting, not rushing that process because everybody's a little bit different. And yeah, like you said, like taking initiative, like offering a service. I love that. Handling chores, childcare. Maybe it's encouraging breaks. Maybe it's, we talked about a menu, I think, in our last episode.
Yeah.
Like, things that, we can offer.
Yeah, and they may be defensive at first. Like, no, I'm not, because that's like the first, we tend to just defend ourselves first. So if it's the person, maybe they're listening to this and they're like, gosh, maybe I'm still experiencing some of this. Like maybe I was just shoving this to the back. What would you say is like a good first actionable step that they could take toward healing?
Yeah, I think I'd want them to know first that like, you're not broken. You're not alone in this. This is unfortunately so common for many, many reasons, right? That we've talked about, systemic and not. Healing doesn't have an expiration date. And I think a first step they could take is just learning more, right? Or like finding somebody that we trust that we can open up about if it's been really hard. And a lot of times we feel really alone because nobody else knows that we're struggling. So maybe that's a partner. Oftentimes it is a partner that we talk to, right? Like, hey, I'm noticing that like I am actually not okay, right? Like how I just need to talk about it, right? And someone to kind of validate and listen. Maybe it's a really close friend. Maybe it is that person you ghosted, right? Or didn't respond to for a while, and saying like, hey, I've actually really been struggling. And that's a vulnerable message to send. But I imagine what they send back will be really comforting to hear, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll get a call, but reaching out. Who's one person that we could tell?
Yeah. And I'm a doula. Like, honestly, I've had people reach out to me and I'm the person that they feel safe to tell that to, because they know that I'll have some sort of resource too, and that there's zero judgment coming from me. Because if you learn one thing, having me as your doula or even just your childbirth educator, I'm like, no judgment. It's not happening. Like none. So I always say there's no TMI when it comes to a doula. That means tell me immediately, not too much information.
Yeah,
so,
same.
Even if it's a year later, they can reach out to maybe their doula, even if that's like the one person and if they had one. So just another idea. Mm-hmm. So this is so helpful. I just wish that we could normalize more that you don't have to be great 6 weeks after your baby's born or before, and that this can last a long time. You said 6 years was like the whatever. I'm like, I'm 7.5 and I'm sorry, it's still happening. Like I'm still there. My son turns 8 soon and I'm still postpartum. I'm like, my hormones sometimes feel all wacky and my hair still isn't the same. And it's never going to be, and that's okay. Yeah. Like it's all right.
Actually normal, right? For this to feel, for us to feel things after the 6 weeks. It's normal. It's within that normal range for sure.
And this is not scientific, it's anecdotal, but I'm here to tell you that I think that our kids are really smart because they steal our brain cells. And that is why we have a hard time remembering things forever after they're born. So thank you so much for just tackling this topic with me and helping normalize that we do not have to be superheroes and do all of the things in the order that society thinks that we should, or as quickly as society thinks that we should. If listeners wanted to connect with you, and of course I'll put it in the show notes, how can they reach out to you for resources or find more about you?
Yeah, thanks so much again for having me. For sure, my website, which will be linked below. I am most active on Instagram for sure. And so my Instagram handle is at Laura Sandoval Therapy. And my Psychology Today link we can include. But yes, I'm most active on Instagram. I provide a lot of free mental health content on there. So I'd love it if you all could follow me there.
That's such another great way of normalizing, is like seeing that content so that we don't just have like the picture perfect stuff online, that we show the what it's really like online.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laura. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to follow, rate, and review the podcast. It helps us reach more families who can benefit from this resource. For more resources, classes, and services, head to empoweredbeginningsatx.com or check out the Birth Baby Academy at birthbabyacademy.com. Until next time, wishing you confidence and calm on your journey through birth and beyond.